afternoon, everybody. This is Mrs. Rodriguez, and I will be teaching you guys or reviewing with you guys 4 different strategies on how to add 3-digit numbers. So I have already set up the 2 numbers that I am going to be adding for you guys, and that's 328 plus 456. Some fun ideas for parents if you have dice lying around your house and you want your kids to practice would be to take the dice and go ahead and roll them to get a number. Maybe they roll a 3, roll it again, maybe they get a 2. They roll it again, probably won't get an 8 because there's not 8 on there. But you can put a 6 or exchange it, and you could do the same thing to build your next number. Sometimes adding those dice makes it a little more fun and interactive for the kids to build their numbers before they start adding them. Keep in mind, for their assignment today, they are to complete a 4 square, which is the model that I did last week. These are just different strategies they could use to solve. Most of the kids are gonna gravitate toward the standard algorithm, but it's good just to know different strategies, and your child is able to pick whichever one works best for them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this side, which we are gonna be showing you how to add using models. So what I like to do first is I like to write my number, 328. I like to do hundreds, tens, and ones. You can even put a little divider there. And then we have 456. So I like to draw my model. So if I'm doing my first number, I have 3 hundreds, 1, 2, 3. I have 2 tens, 1, 2, and I have 8 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Next is I have 456. So 400, 50, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 6 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Please keep in mind it would be really helpful for your kids to make neat rows for your ones. Sometimes the kids like to just make a whole bunch of dots, and then when they're trying to add them up, it gets really confusing for them. From here, now I always start adding my ones. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make a group of 10, and if not, then that's my number of ones. But I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I circle what I have left. In this case, I have 4 ones left, and I'm going to do it in a separate color. I was able to build that 10. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that extra 10 right here. Now I can go ahead and add up all my 10s. So I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or 8 tens. And now I just simply add up my hundreds. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. And I have my first answer, which is 784. Next, I'm going to go ahead and jump over here to expanded algorithm. Now for this problem, I line it up a little bit differently. Plus 456. Keep in mind I did it going horizontally. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add up my ones. So I add the 8 plus the 6, and when I do that, I get 14. Then I add up my 50 plus my 20, and when I do that, I get 70. And then I add up my 400 plus my 300, and when I do that, I get 700. So I have 700 plus 70 plus 14. Now, in order to make all of this work, I know that I can only have one number in my ones place. In this case, it would be the 4. And the 1, this 10, would get carried over here. So it's like adding a 10 to that 70, which now makes it 80. So I can put my 8 here, And then my 700 just simply kind of stayed the same. So this would have become an 80 when I added that 10 that jumped over here. My answer again being 784. I'm going to come back over here and we are going to work on a number line. I'm going to go ahead and start off with 328, which is my first number. And I like to put my little marking. And now I have to go ahead and add 456. So I'm going to start off with that 400 because they're bigger chunks and it might make it a little bit easier. So we have 100, 200, 300, 400. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in my numbers right now. Now I'm going to choose to do it with a smaller marker so it could fit a little bit better. That's the only reason why I'm changing colors. So 328, since I'm working with hundreds, the only number that's going to change is my hundreds place. So now this is going to be 428. This changes to 528. This changes to 628. And this one would be 728. Now I'm going to go ahead and add on that 50 right there. So we're going to go do smaller jumps, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so now instead of changing my hundreds place, now I'm simply changing my tens place because I'm working in my tens place value. So now this would be 738, 748, 758, 768, and 778 is where I leave off. Now the very last thing I have to do is add on those 6 ones. Now the ones place get really small because they're only worth 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to do my best to squeeze them in, or I can also just count on. So I have 778, we have 779, 780, 781, 782, 783, 784, 700, and that's 6. Those are the 6 that I would add. So my answer would be 784. And again, I just counted on those ones. If you want me to write them in, it would look like 779, 780, 781, 782, 783, and then I get to my final answer, which is 784. Okay, and again, all I did was go ahead and add this section, which was my 400. Then I added this section, which was 50. And then I added this section, which was 6. And if I added all that up, we know that comes out to my 456. Last and final strategy is standard algorithm, which again, the kids really prefer this one. It's probably the quickest, easiest for them to understand and master. So all they have to do is line it up, but it's really important that they line it up exactly nice and neat, because if the ones and tens are all crowded and mixed up, that's where they're going to start making their mistakes. So we have 328 plus, and I put it off to the side, 456. And again, keep in mind to have my ones lined up, tens lined up, hundreds lined up. From here, all I have to do is add. So I like to cover everything here, and I always start with my ones place. I know 8 plus 6 is 14. And I carry my 1. There is my 14. 5 plus 2 is 7 plus 1 more. And 3 plus 4 is 7. My answer again being 784. Now again, these are just different strategies they can use, The problem that they are going to be working out today has to be done on a Foursquare, again, which is the Analyze, Plan, Solve, and Check, which I did a video on it last week. They will solve their problem, but they can use any of these strategies to do their solve part. If there's any additional questions, you guys can always reach out to me or your teacher so that we can help you further.